Right up here? Okay. Love you, Mo.
That'll wake you up.
Thanks, thanks, Buster. Thanks, Mo. Everybody still awake? A little bit? All right, thanks for sticking around till the end. I got enough 15 minutes of voice left, so we'll dive right in. But I'm Trevor. I'm the co-founder of Polymath, and I'm here to talk about one thing: utility tokens. Just kidding. Although these guys covered a lot of good stuff, and I know some of our stuff came up, and whoever's trickling in here, come on and sit down. But I want to do kind of an abbreviated security token State of the Union for 2019. And I'll try not to be as morbid as those guys, because there's a lot of exciting stuff happening, and I want to share it with you guys too. Does anyone not know the definition of a security token at this point? Show of hands. Didn't think so. This is actually really amazing, because it wasn't that long ago people weren't as knowledgeable, and we had to kind of start at the beginning. So we can skip ahead, and we won't be defining security tokens, but I'd like to talk about the addressable market. And I know a lot of people kind of talk about trillions of dollars and hundreds of trillions of dollars, and I'm guilty of that as well. But I think now that we're evolving and maturing as an industry, it's important that we get more actionable and we have more meaningful things to say. So yes, we all know that this is a gigantic market, but I think everybody knows that already. So instead, we need to be more tactical and more specific about what markets that we're going after and what our go-to market strategy as an industry is going to be. And I think private placements, they talked about it in the last panel, but I want to echo that private placements are really an amazing fertile ground for our first batch of security token adoption. And what is a private placement? It's just a private company raising money, and this is actually an enormous market. We're talking, $2 trillion raised last year, over 30,000 individual private placements registered with the SEC. And that actually dwarfs IPOs. So even though IPOs get a lot more media attention, private placements are an order of magnitude bigger. So that's why we like this space. It's big. It's also applicable to security tokens. I think private companies benefit more from security tokenization than a public company would, because public companies are already liquid and private companies usually are not. So what is going to comprise of these private placements? What's going to make these $2 trillion once it all happens? It's going to be specific assets. I know like last year we were always talking about stocks, bonds, derivatives. But again, I think we got to be more specific. And now we actually have specific examples and case studies of what's happening. And we're talking student rentals. That's happening in South Carolina. We're talking about vacation resorts. That's happening in Aspen. There's a security token for that. We're talking about limited partner shares in venture funds like blockchain capital. So we're seeing a lot of real world examples manifest, and that's exciting for me because we don't have to talk in future tense all the time. I also think it's important, though, we talk about the why and really articulate why security tokens are better than traditional forms of ownership. And I have five reasons I want to share. The first is tokens are programmable. You can really specify, and Chris, my co-founder, talked about this a second ago, but you can specify a lot of things through code, because smart contracts are programmable, and you can command them to do things. You can automate a lot of your back office with things like dividend payments and proxy voting. That's well established. But also, more interesting things for me, like kind of milestone-based conditions. And you can actually lock up a lot of the funds based on milestones that the project hits. And you can do this all within the smart contract itself. Also things like financing conditions and so on. There's lots of interesting things you can do. Number two, this is one of my favorites. I call it the atomization of investment products. So ATOMization. So breaking down asset pools into specific segments. So for example, Apple. When you buy Apple, you're buying the whole company. You're buying their whole suite of products that comprise Apple. But theoretically, with security tokens, you can actually place bets on specific products, for example, within Apple. So you can go long the iPhone or short the Apple Watch. People talk about real estate a lot in this context. So you can go long Miami condos and you can go short Palm Beach beach houses, all within individual bets. So the granularization is happening, and I think that's exciting. There's a misconception that regulators don't like security tokens, and that's actually wrong. They like it, and not for the reasons you might think. They like the blockchain and they like security tokens because it actually makes their life easier. If you're a private placement, what we were just talking about, you're probably very opaque. You're private by definition. The trading doesn't really happen, and if it does, it's very kind of opaque. And it's kind of behind closed doors. But if you compare that with security tokens, it's kind of automated compliance. You have this paper trail that you can audit on the blockchain. So it actually makes the regulators' life easier, and that's why we're having such good feedback and conversations with regulators, because people like making their job easier. I like to talk about the concept of a interoperable global stock exchange. If you look at an American investor, it's actually very hard for him to directly invest in a Chinese stock. And the reason for that is because the New York Stock Exchange has a tech stack, and it has a legal stack, and that has proprietary technology. And the Chinese stock exchanges have their own tech stack and their own legal stack, and they don't interoperate very easily. But that all changes, both the tech and the legal, with security tokens, because you have one global settlement layer that is natively interoperable, so anybody can buy a stock from anywhere. And this is very impactful because anybody can have access now. So there's thousands of new companies that a Canadian like myself can now get access to that I couldn't before. I built a relationship with Jeff Sprecher from the New York Stock Exchange, the chairman, and he talks about this all the time. It's the tech stack of the New York Stock Exchange is what helped it scale, but it's also proprietary and not necessarily compatible with other exchanges. This is probably a new one you might not have heard before. We have been experimenting in the lab at Polymath, and we've created a DEX-empowered security token. And everyone knows a DEX, a decentralized exchange, it's just a short form for that. And what this means is that in the token itself, you can have the restrictions baked in. You can have the KYC baked in, and you can disintermediate the whole concept of counterparties with the DEX or broker-dealers in the traditional financial system. And you can actually have this seamless experience where there's no middleman, and that's exciting to me because that's the whole promise of blockchain, is making the back end more efficient and getting rid of middlemen. So this is kind of a cool proof on Etherscan of a DEX-empowered token that we created, and we're having a lot of fun experimenting with things like that. I think it's also important that we zoom out a little bit and give ourselves a pat on the back as an industry. We made a lot of progress in 2018. And no, we didn't hit critical mass, and we're not mainstream quite yet. But look, we launched the first security token. We launched the first compliant security token exchange. We have real estate that lives on the blockchain today, and just previously in 2018. We also have had a lot of important events like ST20, where we had a lot of the best and leading thinkers and thought leaders in the space come together to help agree on some standards as an industry, and we think that's very important as well. A lot of these moments have translated and manifested into real-world examples and case studies of, like I mentioned before, venture funds, blockchain capital. It's trading today on open finance, and you can buy it. It's actually up from its inception. I think it's trading at 2 times over NAV. And that's awesome. That's exciting because that's what we have been hoping for, that security tokens will unlock value and create a premium on traditionally illiquid assets, and that's already happening. We're also seeing, like I said, the vacation rental in Aspen, Colorado on the blockchain. So these are real-world examples. We're also seeing the industry mature substantially. I have a slide at the end that kind of encompasses all these great companies. You've seen Securency is doing an amazing job, who was just on stage. On the issuance side, you see Harbor, that's David Sachs and Josh Stein's company. They've done an amazing job getting the first few security tokens off the ground. Securitize as well, you might have heard of them. They release a lot of great content that I get a lot of value from and are doing a lot of great work too. From the exchange side, there's Open Finance. They were first to market, and we see a lot of exciting scalability with them in the coming year. And T0, of course. I think the guys, I see some T0 hats, are still here, and they're kind of the big gorilla in the security token ATS space, and so on and so forth. We're seeing all kinds of great companies emerge. But what about us? What about Polymath? What kind of can we say about how we fit in this ecosystem? And the analogy that I like to use now is I like to position ourselves as the iOS for security tokens. And if you look at iOS, it was just really a very important leap forward for mobile computing. And why was it? It's because it made it easy for anybody to use. Your grandmother could now use a machine, and she doesn't need to be a programmer or know how to use the Swift programming language. And I think that's what's missing in security tokens and crypto in general, is just having that UX, that front end, that usability that makes it easy for anybody to use. And that's kind of what I like to prioritize with Polymath, is how we prioritize user experience first. And I want to show you kind of what that looks like. This is all live on tokenstudio.polymath.com. That's our subdomain. And it's simple, and it's just a beautiful interface. You don't need to know that there's security tokens happening in the background or blockchain. You just type in your ticker name, that's step one, and now you have your security token named. It's your ticker symbol that follows your token throughout its life cycle. And we actually automatically scan if that name is available, and if it is, you can reserve it, and it's yours for life. Step two is actually creating the security token, and you'll notice there's no code, there's no terminal. All you do is have a binary decision. Is it divisible or indivisible? Is it how many tokens do you want? Yes or no? Lots of toggles. We try to make it super intuitive. And in the background, we have a lot of tech that does the hard work for you, does the heavy lifting for you. So all the smart contracts that you're going to need are already pre-written, and they're pre-audited, so you don't have to hire smart contract developers. It's already there for you, and we try to really simplify it with this nice front end. Step three is kind of the human layer, and for better or worse, you still need humans to help you when you launch a security token, just by law. You're going to need lawyers, you're going to need KYC providers, and this is the stage where we actually help guide you through that process to pick leading service providers in that specific vertical that you need help with. Step four is the fun part, where you get to actually be your own investment banker, and you can choose when the sale is going to happen, what currency you raise it in, and all the other kind of granular details of your sale. And you just do this all within the app itself. And step five is you're done. It's a very very elegant process, if I may say so myself, and we're very excited that we've made it easy. And I think even cooler than that is that whole process is actually self-serve. It's decentralized. We never took your information at any moment. And it's really similar to what Ethereum did for ICOs in a way. Like, there's no 1-800 number to call. You can't get a hold of Vitalik if you have a question. The whole point of it is that it's community driven. And that's exactly what we've done here. And if you look at our stats here, we've had 170 symbols reserved already, and that's just people organically coming to our dApp. And we've had 77 security tokens actually created and deployed. And again, it kind of feels like Ethereum, because all these new tokens are coming out into the ecosystem, and we may or may not be aware of them, but we know in the back end that our technology and our engine is powering them. So that's all the front end and what's going on under the hood. And this is a part of it. This is ERC20. And this is kind of the standard that the Ethereum network has agreed to run on. And it's really simple. This is actually an elegant piece of code that you're looking at. It's only 6 functions. It's very simple. And standards have to be simple. They have to be kind of very agile and simple, or else not everyone's going to agree on them. And what we've done is spend a lot of time kind of collaborating with other stakeholders in our industry to come up with our version of ERC20, which we call ST20. We formalized it in an EIP, which is an Ethereum improvement proposal. And this is what it looks like. It's also very simple, very elegant, and this is kind of how we view what security tokens should look like under the hood. And there's a little bit debate on, there's a lot of standards out there, and it's true that we have other things to worry about too, but we think it's really important that we have kind of the foundation layer baked in. This is what it looks like on GitHub. We've got a lot of exciting reviews that have come in and a lot of good traction here. We're also very pleased that Open Finance, kind of the leading live security token exchange, is supporting ERC 1400. Excuse me. ERC 1400, and that's very important because now if you launch a security token on Polymath, you're already backwards compatible with the leading exchange. So you don't have to do any extra work to make sure that you hook into Open Finance, and we intend to do that with all of the other major security token exchanges that come online. And what I see happening, and this is a high level projection, but I want to point out how the standard and the platform launch can be the catalyst for a lot of growth. And I'm talking about the industry, not just our own project or our own token. But once you have kind of the leverage and the scalability of a platform that can launch thousands of other tokens, you get the community growing along with it. And I really see, I know there's a lot of work to do. And the last panel, we're not sure if 2019 is going to be the year. I really think it will be. And we're seeing it every day at Polymath, all the new pieces of the puzzle that are coming together. This is a report by the Kepler Research Institute, and it kind of shows all of the key players in the security token ecosystem. That's us, featured in the bottom right. And it's a beautiful thing. This is something that was a lot simpler last year. There was not nearly as much clutter on that chart, and it just goes to show how much has been built and how far we've progressed. And we see this continuing to evolve. And next year, this is gonna be a few pages bigger, I predict. So I'll leave. I know I'm out of time. I'll leave with this statement and question: are we in a bear market? And the answer is, duh, yeah, we're for sure in a bear market. We're down, whatever, 80, 90%. But we're also not. Security tokens, by my guess, have been up 10x this year in terms of market cap. And I would just encourage everyone to kind of not be asleep at the wheel here in 2019. Place your bets now, research the market, but now is the perfect time to kind of get engaged and get knowledgeable about this space. And next year, I'll come back and do the State of the Union to see how we did. Thank you.
All right, Trevor, thank you.